Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today is Feb 7, 2026. We want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Please subscribe. Also want to thank YouTube for introducing me to today's guest, Josh Matthews. Where are you calling from, Josh?
Sioux Center, Iowa. That's the middle of nowhere for most everybody listening to this or watching it.
Well, I'll tell you, we had so much fun in part one, and that was July 16th last year. And it was learning about movies, the name of your channel, that got me going, because I've noticed you do sort of like 6 to 10 minutes on these really great tutorials reviewing films and teaching people film history. And what blew me out was you did an hour plus on Man with the Movie Camera. And I'm like, well, why did that film get more time than everything else?
Oh,
And so, that being one of my favorite films ever. Yeah, go ahead.
the easy answer is what you can show on YouTube versus getting blocked on YouTube.
Yeah.
So if it's in the public domain, it's okay, but you're going to get blocked or demonetized otherwise.
But there was a funny thing you said. I spoke with Tony Buba yesterday, who's an amazing Pittsburgh filmmaker, worked with George Romero. And, the Ann Arbor Film Festival is going for 60 years plus now. And I went to it for 30 years and gave workshops and whatnot. And he said, oh, I realized that at one point, the way I'll get in is that I will look at the reject list and average out what is the running time that gets in the most. So it is sort of, no, literally. And he goes, 10 minutes. I goes, Tony, that is amazing, because I spoke with a filmmaker in Boulder once, really good experimental filmmaker. And he says, the best film is 8 minutes in that genre, experimental film. Like, not best, but the one. But we know comedies never go over 90 minutes. And, now we get these films that are 3 hours, but it's like 120 is sort of. And, now we go into the first question. Sorry for all that gobbledygook in the beginning. Mel Brooks won an Oscar for Best Screenplay in 1967, Best Original Screenplay, beating out Kubrick's 2001 with the film The Producers. And the protagonist, have you ever seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the protagonist is called Leo Bloom, named after James Joyce's character in Ulysses.
Oh, sure.
And here's the line that Gene Wilder, playing Leo Bloom, says. I want everything I've seen in the movies. What an amazing line to win an Oscar with. Okay. Now I did this with my group a couple times last week. Fill in the last 3 words in your own way. I want everything I've seen, blank, fill in as many words as you want after that.
I want everything I've seen. Not, you mean in a movie or the movies, or just
no, you can put it in any context you want. It doesn't have to be movie related. I'm just giving you where it came from. I want everything I've seen in the movies to just at wide open. I want everything I've seen.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be some kind of crazy unattainable utopia, wouldn't it? I mean, I want everything I've seen in the perfect peaceable kingdom. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think that Bloom line is fascinating though, because what you want everything you've seen in the movies. I'm so like, I just have to think about that for a minute. I don't know what I want. I think I just want normal life to exist without interruption. So I probably should shut off the internet and never go back on it. But then I'd be undermining your audience right now. So,
dude, that is total Marshall McLuhan Finnegan's Wake. That is totally the guy who taught me all about McLuhan said if McLuhan was alive today, he would have a website and he wouldn't give the URL out. Yeah. And then he always said, you watch the news and they go, tonight there's no news, so you can turn off the TV right now. But
Yep.
I like that. Everything I've seen in the perfect peaceable kingdom.
I
What
don't know what that would be though. Like I'm trying
I
to think
know,
of
but what is that? What are those 3 words from?
I don't know. I just made that up. The
Okay, I thought you were quoting some literature.
No, I mean, but the problem with utopias or those kinds of situations depicted are they're pretty boring. And I mean, in a world of entertainment, you need do you need tension and character conflict and all that, and then a lot of difficulty, and so a perfect utopia is not going to have that. That's always the criticism of those things.
Yeah,
Um, it reminds you that there's a '30s movie, Lost Horizon. I think Frank Capra did it based on a book, and you
amazing.
know that. And then when you get to the utopia in the Himalayas, the characters crash. They're going from China, I think, and they crash in a plane in the Himalayas, and then you can see a utopia on film, and nothing really happens. So it's actually a good. I mean, try it out. That movie particularly.
It's a great movie, actually. I love it. And it reminds me of one of Michael Powell's films where you go up the stairways to heaven.
Oh yeah, a matter of life and death.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. But this is perfect because what we were talking about at the end of part 1 was what stood out a lot in part 1 was I'm going to go over a lot of things. You can go wherever you want, but it's reminded me of what Harold Bloom said in Anxiety of Influence is you absorb your influence and then you abandon them.
Yeah.
It's like, good luck. How can you abandon? To me, I say these horrible things. I say the Coen brothers are just Preston Sturges wannabes. Now, I met one of them. If I said that to them, they'd probably go, "Thanks for the compliment."
Maybe.
Because
Yeah.
well, yeah, maybe, but it is funny what Frank Zappa and Preston Sturges did was they took 2 known things and put them together and created a third unknown thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's called tertium quid. It's called alchemy. And so Franken kind of invented theatrical rock, but then he satirized his new invention. And then Preston Sturges, invented screwball comedy sort of and writer director auteur theory. And then he satirized his own new invention.
Yeah.
So that means he took it a little farther. So how do these, like Christopher Nolan, I goes, he's a Kubrick wannabe. Give me a break. And people go, yeah, he's a lot better than that. So what I'm saying is this whole idea that you brought up is how does the filmmaker or the literature person not become their influence? Or not, maybe the question shouldn't be how, but just discuss that dynamic. Like, how do you judge the aesthetic on where this guy is not a wannabe and this guy's, a creator?
When you start with Bloom, then I think about him. I wrestle with him often. So he would praise people who are working with and then generating out of a tradition, which then he wrote this gigantic thing called the Western Canon, put everybody he liked and everybody who's esteemed in it, and then that got a lot of flack, of course. So a person that he would praise like Cormac McCarthy is writing within the tradition, responding to all these people, whether it's Aeschylus, Shakespeare, I mean, you name it, but then working out of it, putting it's not just 2 things together, but probably about 50.
Yeah.
And making something. And that's I don't know how, in film criticism, I don't know how to avoid that, especially given that well, he's a literary critic. Film critic's not much different, where you're working with this giant body of things that you've seen and that other people esteem, and then something new comes along and it looks like 5 or 6 other things that have come before. It's hard to talk about it without going, it's like these other 5 things. And I don't know if the criticism is enforcing the anxiety of it, like actually creating the anxiety of influence, and the filmmaker just trying to do whatever they want, or the filmmaker actually has seen these 5 or 6 things and is building off of them their own thing. This could work with literature and any kind of artwork too. I agree with you that Nolan is a Kubrick wannabe, but it's more like an very audience friendly Kubrick, and it's like James Bond movies plus Kubrick together for him.
That is good. I love what you
I
said.
think.
I'm no, but I mean, you are in a lot of ways a professional uh, movie critic, but you're also rooted in teaching film. I mean, you teach film history. You don't teach film production, do you?
No, yeah, no, it's viewer centric and reviewer centric
Yeah.
for sure.
No, and I like that you said that because again, if Christopher was sitting here and we says, "Hey, dude, you're a Kubrick wannabe," he might go, "Thanks for the compliment," because he knows he's successful, and he knows that Stanley is up there in the big, like, oh, he's one of the best. So just being compared, so
Right.
I mean, who knows? Um, you really covered that well too, because I like when you expanded it to 50 things. It's not necessarily two. Cormac when for 50.
Well, I'm just giving him as an example. I don't know him that well,
Yeah,
but just like someone who's like, I think the Coens are a good an example of this. Someone who's taking Sturgis plus Busby Berkeley plus like angsty existentialist vibe from the 1970s, a little Kubrick here, and then combining them into their own thing. But then they have these different sorts of movies, which are either sort of more comical, musical, or then more, let's say, darker and philosophical. Occasionally they come together, and Inside Llewyn Davis is kind of both like a musical, dark, existential journey. But I think they're that's a pair you can see as combining like 8 different things and coming out with possibly their own thing if you want to praise them.
yeah, no, they're experts. I mean, they're really good. I saw that film with George Clooney that mocks the movie system.
Oh
Whatever.
yeah.
I saw it on an airplane. I was like, "This is great," and
Yeah.
it was
Hail
this
Caesar.
tells it's the setting where you see these. When I went and saw the, and here's the two words, and we use this in the music world. You're either retro or rooted, or that not just, but being retro is like, oh, okay, it's like Stevie Ray Vaughan doing Voodoo Child by Hendrix. He was rooted. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a cover version, but you could hear Stevie taking it a little different and a little more his own, and Stevie was just an Albert King wannabe. And I know Stevie would go, thanks. So here's another aspect of that. Hunter Thompson took The Great Gatsby and typed it out. Did you know this?
Yeah, I think you mentioned that in the last one. That's
Oh,
where I
did I
think I
mention
got
it?
it. It's in
So,
my head.
right.
I've heard
So,
this.
so is that almost like taking it to the extreme? I mean, uh, there's a word that came up in Lit Crit in the 60s called intertextuality. You know this word? You do you say, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like James Joyce just rewrote the Odyssey. He didn't really, but he sort of said, okay, this is like, Finnegan's Wake is just a remake of Tristram Shandy in a way, So how do you process that? Did
Intertextuality. Okay, so that one could just be real cynical about it and say that that's just means an illusion or a series, a text, whatever one you want to pick up is a set of illusions. ALLU, like an illusion to this thing and this thing and this thing. It's we're just talking about coming out of 8 a work generated out of 8 things or 50 things, whatever they are. Intertextuality refers to me, it refers to the world of text. It's just enclosed discursive realm that you can't get outside of for dealing with post-structuralism here, if you want to go into that. But anyway, that means I said this in class the other day that every movie is really just stitched together from parts of other older movies. That's one way to look
yeah,
at them. Like any new movie is like stitched together from 1 to 800 different movies, and you can kind of see this is from Star Wars over here, like a brand new movie. This is from Star Wars. This is from, I don't
yeah,
know, the Coen brothers and so on. And the idea is like you just keep tracing it all the way back, and you'll still get texts that are stitched together from other previous texts. which now in the 20th century it's multimedia, at least if not 19th century. So the text could be videos and photographs as well as just written words. It just gets at the same problem, which is like with the new things that you're dealing with, whatever release, new movie, etc., is generated or seems to relate to all these older things. How does it relate to them? And as I'm trying to hint at, it's like a patchwork unity of them. One could argue, just to throw this at you, that this is how it's been read, that Frankenstein, the book by Mary Shelley, that monster in the novel is just a sign of this. He's stitched together by body parts. He's a bunch of humans stitched together, and then he's his own new unity, but he comes from all those other works, people, etc. And so that book is a comment on an artist, Victor Frankenstein, generating an artwork and dealing with the fallout of releasing that into the world. That's basically how I think of that word intertextuality. In the simplest way.
Yeah. And is it similar to, I think you use the term turn it inside out. Like Lord Buckley was this amazing comedian who influenced everybody, but no one knows about him. But he subverted vaudeville joke telling into storytelling. So that's why most people don't realize Lord Buckley was the biggest influence on Lenny Bruce. Most people go, Lenny Bruce just opened up the floodgates so you could say dirty words. Nope, he turned it into storytelling. Jonathan Winters, George Carlin, Robin Williams, they're all on their knees to Lord Buckley. In fact, Bob Dylan too. Bob Dylan admits Lord Buckley was one of his biggest influences. But no one knows about it, but it is this thing where he turned it inside out or subverted the previous form. Is that sort of what you're touching on, that you want to see in the movies that impress you?
Well, that's a standard of goodness for a number of people, older critics, maybe some newer ones for sure. Like, how much does it develop develop cinema itself, or just develop the genre it's in, or something like that? So the turning inside out would be it's bringing those things together and making them a little bit new with some surprises in it. And for probably a modern context, it's not it works for 2026 really well. It speaks to people today. I don't know. I mean, that's not the only possible standard of goodness, though, but it is one which which has been loved, I think, since Aristotle, quite honestly. For especially for critics who, frankly, are watching. For movie critics, they're watching dozen movies or more a week, new movies, and then almost all of them are just pale imitations of what's come before. They get really bored with that. So then something new that is turning inside out, whatever that means exactly, is lauded a little bit more usually than the pale imitations, which frankly, that's what most artwork is. It's like someone kind of doing a bad version of something that's come before.
Wow, you really touched on something. There's a couple things there. Before I go into that, I'm going to ask you, is this sort of what Duchamp's saying? The artists of the future will only have to point. So they're like, that's sort of reduct. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, that's where I think about modern pop music. And I like the Grammys were just released. I pulled up a few of the songs that were like new songs of the year candidates, and I just didn't get them, and they sounded really simple to me. And so and this is the thing I've heard many different musicians tell me, is like all pop music has become exhausted. Every single iteration of it has been played, at least with the guitar-based drums. So one wonders if that's what Duchamp, like, is there such a thing as exhausted artwork, or within a structure within the artwork with like guitar, bass, and drums, can you exhaust it, and then there's no other place to go with it? I actually don't know. I don't work within that, but Duchamp probably was onto something there.
Yeah, he fucked up art. My favorite thing is Duchamp fucked up art forever, and it will never. And it needed fucking up. It needed to be changed. And
at that point in time, I think maybe, yeah.
And so then this standard of goodness. Like you have your standards. Like I think an extreme in the film critic world that I always talked about was you go see so many films, not you, but they a critic sees so many films, or a book critic sees so much, that when something is good, it gets overblown. Like, finally something's so good and it's overpraised. And when something's bad, it's like, that's horrible. And it wasn't that horrible to the normal person.
Right.
Because, you know, one of the famous LA film critics was like, he brought his mom to every screening, pre-release screening. So there's another person, yeah, hey mom, I can get you in to see a free screening of a film. And if you gave him cookies, that was a good thing. Like, oh, here's the press screening, here's your cookies, you know.
Yeah.
Now does that, you know, that's like in Johnny Otis, who discovered all the greats in LA. He said we'd give a joint with a 45 to the DJ. Was that paoli? What's the difference? You give them $10 or a joint, you know. But everything all at once. What was the name of that song? Everything, or the name of that film? Everything, you know.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
What was your take on it? Basically, you know, so up, thumbs up or thumbs down?
I love that movie a lot. I thought that was innovative in so many ways. Partly because, and this may not be what many people know very well, it is a send up of the theoretical physics version within their theories and calculations of the multiverse. Yeah. It's partly, yes, or like haranguing and being fun and satirical with the Marvel movie multiverse concept. Yeah. But that's something else. I really mean pop physics. That you and I may have infinite selves that are in infinite universes, and we have different courses of different lives there, and it just has philosophical and it's aesthetic fun with that. And I really appreciate that, because I've read enough of that stuff to be dangerous, but I don't think many people realize that movie was partly about that, at least.
And you said you read enough about that, meaning because you've read so much sci-fi?
Partly that. I also know some physics, unfortunately.
Because you've studied science. Physics. You've studied modern physics too, and the sci-fi and the movie. Because you know, when I thought, like, everybody raved it, I even forgot my whole take on it, but all I remember is this is just a mother-daughter relationship film. It's a mother-daughter drama relationship film, and it was really good at that. And the other stuff made it I know what it was. I was like, I think I was totally blown away by it. And then my friend who makes films, short films are in the Museum of Modern Art, and her son went, "Oh, Mom, we finally found a film that you will love."
Oh. And
so they sat down in the living room to watch it. And after 10 minutes, she goes, "I can't take it."
10 minutes?
Yeah, and it was like the kids were so disappointed. They were like, "Oh, Mom."
You can't judge anything after 10 minutes, but okay. Sure.
Yeah, but it's just the sensory overload was getting.
Oh, you know, that's what yes.
I mean, there's probably more, but it could have been the mom-daughter relationship, but she has two sons. But anyways, it's just interesting how different generations consume films from different eras. Now, here's the next question,
This is
John.
one of my favorite subjects, by the way, if you want to get into that. Because I know a lot of Gen Z people, and they're quite different from me in some ways. Yes.
Wait, go ahead, because I mean, what's your ratio? 80% is new films and 20 older, or what you basically
what I watch?
What you put on your YouTube channel about?
Oh, it's just whatever I want. So I don't.
I know,
don't know. I mean,
it seems it's a little more like 60 to new and 40 to old.
Well, I gotta just it's whatever I want. So, but if it's like if it's before 1970, it's not gonna get any clicks. Nobody's searching for that stuff. It's not on streaming much at all. Black and white stuff not sought after unless it's a real special movie. So, I mean, I don't care really about algorithms and clicks and all that, but I have to know that if I'm going to put a Preston Sturges movie on there, it's not going to get a lot of hits. lot of clicks. So it's a labor of love. So I probably tend towards the modern stuff. I'm in the last 30 to 40 years for sure.
Right. And so do you know your stat about 2 or 3 of the film YouTube videos you got the most hits? Do you know which are what they are?
Actually, I don't. I haven't looked at that in a long time, truly. But for a while it was Rashomon, but I don't think that's so. I think Seventh Seal maybe. So
You're kidding. So
no, because I don't know why. It's very strange to me. I'm not even sure that video is any good, but the over time, see, that's the thing. If you have a video on a movie and it's not going to get a lot of clicks and hits right now because not many people are searching for it, but over time that accumulates.
Right. But
So
give me a couple titles that were newer that got a lot of clicks that you weren't maybe expecting.
Have you ever heard of a movie called The Station Agent?
No.
So
But
I mean, it's a very fun, delightful movie. There's nothing like aesthetically awesome about it, but Peter Dinklage is obsessed with model trains. He's a little guy and he moves off and lives by himself, and then these people start to pay attention to him. He starts to pick up friends. This is it's not a complicated movie, but it's a movie about unlikely friendships in rural New Jersey.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the video that I did on that, which I did years ago, went nowhere. And then all of a sudden, the last year, it's picked up a lot. I think because Netflix got it, and then people started watching on Netflix and started searching for it.
I see.
Something weird like that usually happens.
Yeah. But you do get a lot of clicks. I mean, I think it's amazing. Do you think you get a lot of clicks, or do you?
For a channel where I'm a talking head and doing educational analysis, I think it probably does get more hits than I would expect. Yes.
Right. Do you watch any other similar channels?
I don't watch YouTube much.
That was a good raise in the eyebrow.
It's not my thing. I mean, it's great for concerts I've never seen. If I want to see an old Frank Zappa, this or that, there you go. But no, it's a great art place for young people to learn. That's why I'm on there, actually.
Yeah, but can I? You don't have to answer this. Do you make any money off of YouTube?
Oh, I do, but it's enough to take a nice vacation. Not much more than that.
Yeah, cool.
So okay, there you go.
So
I mean, I don't do sponsorships or anything, so that probably would help if I did, but I don't.
Yeah. Now,
I want to go back to this the generational viewing though.
Oh, please do go ahead.
No. I wish you probably haven't heard of it. There was an article, and I wrote this on Substack about a week ago. A giant article in the Atlantic about professors who are teaching film classes like me, complaining and lamenting that their students could not answer basic multiple choice questions about the movies that they were watching. So if you were to watch Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation for a class, then you had a quiz on it, the students couldn't even answer like very basic things. And this was a whole lament about how Gen Z is not paying attention. We have more and more of an attention crisis and so on. So I had a lot of thoughts about that, mostly because I know a lot about what's going on with that so-called attention crisis. And do you want to go into this or not? Gen Z does not watch the way that boomers and Gen X or whoever does. They don't watch that way.
And no, I'd love to hear it.
So an example would be,
do you agree and you lament it, or it's just their way of changing?
It's a little bit of both, because a change is always has a negative. You lose something with a change, and you might hopefully you lose just bad things, but sometimes you lose a few good things. Here's an example. So I was on a transatlantic flight with a class at one point several years ago. Kid had downloaded on his phone The Godfather and had never seen it, and he's gonna watch it. And I like he probably should watch The Godfather on a giant screen, man, because like that's what it was made for, intended for that huge immersive experience back in 1971 or 2 or whatever. But no, don't care. I'm going to watch it like that. And that's part of being what's lamented is that People aren't going to the movie theaters as much since COVID, and maybe probably before the downfall of the movie theater, lack of box office attendance and so on. And I think a lot of that talk is fuddy-duddy. I think movie people tend to be small c conservatives, and they want people to go see the giant screen, which has been around for 120 years, but we've had this thing called the internet, and then phones and other small screens like tablets. And like it or not, the movie industry has to adjust to that, and I don't think they've done that very well, although it creates opportunities for small movie makers potentially. And those movie makers today are people on YouTube and TikTok. Now they're just making videos, and some of those videos are just, if you watch the little kid channels, you see what they are. But those are the people who have adjusted to the medium change, and Hollywood hasn't done that very well, in my opinion. So the lament on, and also Gen Z, you may not know this, loves to watch with subtitles. Have you heard this or not?
I want to hear that. I didn't know that.
Did you not know that? Oh, I found this out years ago. Like 3 years ago, that more than half of my classes, and supposedly more than half of the, let's say under 22, let's say 13 to 25 years old, watch with subtitles on. And that has nothing to do with they're watching foreign films. They just like to see the words, partly because they're watching in a usually watching in a very distracted environment, so they can't hear, and so they want to see the words on the screen so they know what's being said. And that boggles my mind, because I don't like subtitles unless I have to use them. It's just me. I want to see the whole screen. I don't want the words interrupting much. And it changes the focal point of every image is changed when you put the word somewhere else on the screen. You're looking at the words first and then the image, and then that just changes the way I think it changed the way people watch. But I was fascinated by that. The subtitles are actually a strong element of Netflix, for example, and people want to see those all the time.
I want to say a couple things in that regard, because that was truly enlightening what you told me, because I wish I knew that. And is this Atlantic article recent? Because I need to read that. Send me a link if you want, whatever. But it's yeah, that's good. Okay, so subtitles. My wife and I come out of watching films, and she's like, let's watch rom-coms, and then she'll watch experimental things in foreign films all along. And over the last, it's like date night, and we watch a film at night, rarely, but we watch a film, and it's always like, oh my God, they better have subtitles, because we can't hear. It's like every film is mumblecore now. It's not because we're being distracted. It's like we went through every Woody Allen film and every Bergman film in the last couple years, and we were like, it's like you're learning how to be a screenwriter. So of course it's a different experience, because I grew up like you probably did, is you don't want to watch foreign films dubbed. You want to watch them with subtitles.
Oh, right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Did you ever see the documentary on subtitling?
I don't think I know what that is.
You should see it, because it two major things. Do you know who invented film festivals?
No, not offhand.
Mussolini.
Oh.
and do you know who invented or made dubbing more prominent? Mussolini.
Yeah, the Italians love it.
He knew the power of cinema, and he didn't want people reading. He wanted that to get to them in their dialect.
Yeah.
So he stressed the dubbing thing. It's an amazing thing, the subtitling documentary, just to give you that insight.
All right.
But I love that subtitle. I love that whole thing that they love subtitles, because I need that. And Godard really nailed it, and he made me do it in my film. Like, no, not made me, but influenced me. One of Godard's last films, he subtitled in American Indian or indigenous language. So he did like the opposite. A subtitle is supposed to tell you what they're saying, and he did. So my film, if you watch it really closely, some of the words that are said are subtitled different. Like he did this, and it goes, he did not do this. And you had people trust that subtitles are right. The ultimate is in the Frank Zappa film 200 Motels, which Vincent Canby in the New York Times called Zappa the Orson Welles of rock. And now this is an amazing film, but most people just chalk it up. So it's the most non-cliche rock film ever made. But the German subtitles for 200 Motels, Jimmy Carl Black goes, "You can stick this pin up your ass." And the subtitle says, "Here's your pin back."
I like that.
So we trust subtitles. It's really going to be hard to convince any of those Gen Xers, dude. They might be, it's like, the word translator, translating Rimbaud or some French author into English. Someone said it's etymologically rooted in trader. Translator is a traitor. Now, I don't know if that,
as in betrayal or traitor as in trading things.
It's words evoke more in their meaning. Sometimes people stretch etymology, but basically etymology is made up. That's the problem. It's made up, but we think it's accurate, and it is pretty accurate. But my favorite is when I look up etymology 10 times a day. That's one of my main habits. And what I love it when it says of unknown origin.
Right. Yeah.
Every word is of unknown origin.
Yeah.
But this is amazing because I want to go into this one thing, because if you want to do more generational, I love that discussion, because it's when cell phone. I was a film exhibitor for 50 years, and when cell phones came in, it was like, oh my God. And it's still a major issue. I'm at USC watching a film with a bunch of film students, and they get up there and I says, will you tell them to turn their cell phones off? And they usually go, yeah. And then they forget. They introduce her to the film. And as soon as the lights go down, I goes, please turn your cell phones off. They don't care. They'll fucking flash their flashlight. Totally. Oh, it's horrible. And anyways, I have to mutate like them. I can't say to them, could you turn your cell phone up? I did this once at the best movie screen in the world. The museum, the Academy has that new museum at Wilshire. It's an amazing. Have you ever been there? It's an amazing. No, okay, it's like the best movie theater in the world. And sit down to watch a film. The woman next to me whips out her cell phone as soon as the screen goes down, and I don't say anything. I do this in my own space. I go like this, like a no, like that. She turned to me and goes, shut the fuck up. I didn't say anything. And people go, well, you should have gone and gotten somebody who runs the theater. I says, no way. I just got up and moved. Now, the lucky thing is I moved and no one was flashing their cell phone in my face where I moved. But she could have shot me on sight if I said, hey, you can't do that. The ironic thing, Josh, it was a documentary on Nam June Paik who did stuff like that with video and film. It was experimental. And it was like, dude, you can watch this film for 90 minutes, then go home and do experimental shit. But we're watching a film right now, So anyways, here's what I want to go into is TSA. You ever hear this? Tactile situation awareness. So well, you probably heard situational awareness. This is tactile situational awareness. When a pilot is in a plane and he has been hit, and he has to operate on fast, intuitive moves to save his life. He can't study all the gauges and identify, well, this gauge, I know he can't do that. He has to operate tactile situation awareness to save his life. My friend said that's what Gen X's or whatever
The
younger
Gen Z, right? The
Gen,
young,
but any younger, even pre-Gen Z, is they're watching uh, YouTube, they're diddling on their cell phone with
yes,
TikTok, they're doing something else here. They're doing 2 or 3 or 4 different things, and
yes,
they're not identifying with one. It's massive. So they're
right.
better off. They know how to manipulate them all. We grew up when we were on the telephone, we were focused on talking on the telephone. Now,
Yes,
you might watch the TV in the background or whatever, but we were more identifying with one system, medium, platform at once. They changed and became tactile situation awareness. Now, is that good or bad? I'm not,
uh,
it's
I
mute.
don't know.
It's mutation, and it's what McLuhan basically taught. Every invention has services and disservices, and it's our job not to say it's good or bad, but to study how it shapes our behavior. Now, literally, he would
Yeah.
say, "I hate TV," like me or you. I'm not going to watch TV, but or whatever. You're like, I'm not going to watch YouTube, but we live in a YouTube world. So you're still in the zeitgeist of the world of YouTube, or we're still like I don't
Oh,
have a cell.
totally.
So I don't have a cell phone. People yell at me, dude.
Oh,
You don't have a cell phone. I couldn't get a hold of you. I goes, dude, lighten up. I live in a cell phone world. It's the same difference. It doesn't matter if you have it or not. You know.
interesting. So you bring up this tactile situation. I feel like I need to be able to hold the screen and touch it in order to get something out of it. Whether that's either a controller with input to a video game or the phone. I'm trying to hold a phone right here, the phone
Yeah.
itself, and I'm dead sure that a number of students and young ones are watching whatever screen over here, but then they've got their screen over here that they're actually touching. That's part of their body. They're like part cyborg at this point, and then they kind of need that. They grew up with it since they were 2 years old or less than that, and
Yeah.
that's what I have no opinion on whether that's good or bad. It doesn't sound great to me, but
Yeah.
I mean, what it does to me, and this is I've never thought this through. I don't think most people can multitask, but there are people who can. I've seen some ADHD people be able to multitask. They're zooming in on this and then they can shoot over here to this real quick for whatever reason. I can't do that, but to watch 2 screens at once, 3 screens at once, to do 3 different things at once, uh and what does that do to a population over time? I have no clue. I would think you brought up the subtitle thing where you have different subtitles and the ones down below are not the ones that you're hearing. I wish filmmakers and really studios would mess with people or work with them rather than sort of work against them and stick to the theater system and just producing the same movies with the same 3 act script. I mean, why not have the subtitle differences to play around and have fun? Why not have like some kind of phone interaction? I would probably hate this myself, but some kind of movie that has phone interaction and you sort of have a QR code with your phone and you're watching then 2 different screens at once that are produced for you. I like probably the possibilities here are endless in terms of the formal possibilities for art and movies, but nothing's been developed so far. So
No, but the experimental world, that's my main thing was experimental cinema for the
yeah,
last 50, 60 years. And it is sad because the great filmmakers in Ann Arbor, you go there and see the new experimental stuff, and they're usually clones of their teachers.
oh okay,
And you can't make a living being an experimental filmmaker. So you have to teach. So then they teach Man with the Movie Camera, Stan Brakhage, and then they make their own unique films. There's some great experimental filmmakers, and there are people who have done that and messed with the form. And that's good, but it's not like experimental film. That's why everything, all at once was kind of experimental. It's like whenever I showed experimental films and I says, okay, write a blurb and try to get people to the seats. Just say it's kind of like David Lynch and John Waters. So you just give them some little reference, like, I mean, Hitchcock used Salvador Dali in Spellbound, to do the
Yeah.
dreams. So there's experimental leakage into, Gus Van Sant's Drugstore Cowboy. We were like, hey, this is like experimental film. Or the one film you reviewed, Pie by Darren.
Oh yeah.
Aaron. Pie is like something we would see in Ann Arbor,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it was good. And, there are people who they go to film school, they learn about experimental filmmakers, and then they go, how can I tweak this into selling commodity cinema?
Right.
There's a guy I want you to, if you ever read, David James. You ever read him?
No.
He basically taught experimental film at USC for like many years, and his books are really good, and he's a really good scholar, but he uses that word commodity cinema.
Yeah.
It's like all cinema's commodity.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Everything's commodity. I mean, like I like, how are you gonna show? But I wanted to go into the fast. This one thing that you brought up so well is, okay, I'm in Ann Arbor one year, and there's like, no, they don't even have to ask them to turn their cell phones off, because these kids are all like, we know better than that. And the kid was checking his Facebook in his pocket without even pulling his cell phone out. And so that you can get away with it. But here's the thing. Well, I spoke I might have said this in part one, but I spoke to some like 40 art students in Philly or Pittsburgh once. And they're in this big circle. And I says, well, how many in here have a cell phone? And they all raise their hand. And one woman didn't raise her hand. I says, why don't you have a cell phone? She goes, I lost it. And everybody laughs. And I go, well, you're a good example. You fasted. You were without it. What happened? She goes, I have clarity. Now that's an amazing. And then a friend of mine who feeds the homeless was in jail. And he says, I couldn't use my cell phone. I says, what happened? He goes, I have clarity. So, I mean, that was like a double, thing. Now, whatever, people could panic and not have clarity if they don't have their cell phone. But we don't have a fast, like you sort of said, I don't watch YouTube. No. But if you fast, if like everybody in America said, don't watch YouTube for one day, and then the next day, everybody inventoried what it did, or, Josh, what the hidden ground is electricity.
Do you think you have clarity without a cell phone?
No, I live in a cell phone world. It doesn't matter. I mean, people, yesterday, my friend was going, I want to show you something. I goes, I don't look at things on cell phone. It didn't stop her. She still went, here, shoved in my face.
Yeah.
People, that's like, they go, could I show you my photos, the entire photo history of my family? Oh, it'll be here sometime. I was like, dude, but it doesn't matter. We've mutated. Everybody, how about just filling out forms at the bank or anywhere?
Wait, how do you live? Yeah, you kind of have to be to be a citizen. You have to have a phone, don't you? How do you live without one?
My wife has a cell phone, but I don't really need it. I mean, once in a while, I said, could you text this person? Because I don't text, and I should. I mean, I should have done Facebook from day one, and I don't. And Susie does Facebook, so because I do events, but I have like 2 or 3 Facebook pages that someone else runs, but they don't run them it says Gerry doesn't do Facebook, email him. Look I'm busy enough with email and Zooms and a landline. That's enough for me. But it's like, I understand when people yell at you. I couldn't get a hold of you. It's like, I make it clear.
Sounds like a pretty good life to me. I think that you're world there.
Okay. Well, I'm lucky. But here's the next question, you actually anticipated this. So I spoke with Michael Apted 40 years ago. He made a documentary on a Russian rock star. I says, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? Most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922.
Mm,
And it flourished in the 80s with MTV to the
yeah.
point where Marty Scorsese said, I cut my films faster because of MTV.
Yes, I can believe
Mike,
that.
Michael Apted said, because we've learned to take in information faster. So I asked this question with a bias. Can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
Whoa, brainwashed. Whoa. I think you can take in information a lot faster. The speed of film, just film major releases, and these are the super commodity films the professor was alluding to, are very fast. But yet I don't process them that as well. Perhaps because of my age, I'm just not used to them, but my children can, and the students I know can. And I think what they're doing is infinite fast scrolling on phones constantly and able to scan. I mean, the ways to read the internet, you don't actually read the internet, you skim it and you scan it. You're like going
Yeah.
real fast looking for something, or you're just browsing real quickly and just seeing it. It's almost like speed reading, but it's like speed memeing. I'm not really sure what to call it, but you're just looking at all
Speed
these
memeing. Well, dude,
yeah.
that's what Craig Baldwin told me. He says, "Yeah, they can because of Evelyn Wood's speed reading." But I think my I'm sort of implying you can't because
You said
the
can't or
quality,
can?
you can't take in information
Can.
fast. You can't learn how to take in information faster. What you can do is learn how to scroll fast, and
Okay.
then the quality of the input on the information is lowered.
Probably.
But
Yeah.
we can't prove that because Evelyn Wood's speed reading maybe was successful. And I can't read. I grew up skimming, and that's all I do. And I read backwards. I get it. I'll get
Yeah.
that Atlantic article and I'll read it backwards paragraph by paragraph backwards, and I'll skim it. So I won't literally read it. I know. And I probably have dyslexia or alexithymia or all those things they say. But I never was diagnosed. And I
Well,
want to be diagnosed. But you anticipated one last thing and then go for it, Josh.
wait, can I respond to this? So, because I just watched Pi 2 days ago for a class. Pi,
Yeah.
the Aronofsky movie.
Yeah.
Instead of having a shot of a character having a pill in his hand and going like this and taking the pill, there's like 6 shots within a half a second of pop the lid open on the pill bottle, put it in your hand, do this, and you cannot see it, right? I mean, it's so fast, and Aronofsky does like that sort of sequence where a drug user is going to do things like that, but you can understand what's going on there. So that's the montage is interesting to me because you can get the concept.
It's
you can get
jump
the concept
cutting.
in like 6 shots in
Yeah.
a second, but you can't
It's
really
jump-
see each shot. So I don't understand. That's really bizarre.
But would you call that jump cuts?
Well, I mean, it's a montage to me because it's
Okay.
it's a unified sequence of one thing happening or a concept.
But it's rapid montage.
Yeah, it's like 6 shots in a second, right? Yeah. It's not like 2 minutes of Battleship Potemkin, all that stuff. It's not that at all.
Okay, now you brought up a lot. I got to go.
But that's so rapid, but somehow a viewer can get it.
Yeah.
Without seeing almost any of it.
Yeah. Well, that's why Abel Gance was the king. He really did. He's the guy who invented it. In Eisenstein sort of gets the credit. But do you know this? Do you know who Alice Guy Blanchet is?
No.
Dude, you've got to. You're a film professor. Alex Guy, G.
Wait, how do you spell this?
Alice, and then second word is G-U-I, Guy, Blanchet, B-L-A-C-H-E, something like that. Okay, she invented cinema 140 years ago with Méliès. She got blackballed out.
Oh, I do know who this is. Yeah.
You know who she is. And she made a film of a baby buggy going down steps with the montage, and Einstein saw it when he was 8 years old.
Really? Did he
Come
claim to
on.
have remembered it? I can't.
Yes, I mean, it's implied. Look at, you can watch the documentary on her, and it's implied she had a huge influence, but Einstein got all the credit. That happens all the time. Men get all the glory, and the women were the force behind it.
Right.
I'm not trying to say it's
No.
absolutely true, but what you talked about earlier, and you brought up the word without me, because the rapid montage question is really the hidden question is, can humans literally multitask?
Well, I don't think most can. However, we are a species that does have a lot of diversity and can mutate different genes on different contexts. So I think some people can. I just don't know how or who or what. But anybody can experiment on themselves and try.
Yeah.
I mean, try to read a book and watch a movie at the same time and see if you can do it.
Yeah.
I think all the studies that I've ever seen cited have people, instead of like, if they have two things going on, they're doing this. They're really quickly going back.
Yeah, they're jumping. Yeah.
They're really doing it. Like if I'm listening to you and looking at my phone, I'm jumping back and forth rather than doing them both at the same time. I think that's the way it goes for almost everybody.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. No, you're a smart thinker, Josh. You have a very McLuhan-esque point of view. It's called
Do I?
No, here's what it is. Understanding is not having a point of view. That's what Marshall said.
Oh, okay.
People think understanding is, oh, I like Facebook or I hate it. No, understanding is, we live in a Facebook world. How's it shape our behavior? When you're alone in your lonely teenage room, and go, I hate Facebook. When you're with more than one people, you try to suss out, how is it changing our behavior? And maybe how can I adapt, accept, navigate? And so do movies create false expectations?
About anything or just multitasking? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. You can apply it as you want. We were going from, I was just sort of jumping to the next question, but that's the beauty of it is we never leave the previous question. It always bleeds into the other one.
Oh, totally. Movies totally create false expectations, or they did when they were the dominant cultural force in the world. They are less so today, for sure. But you could say video creates false expectations, and that's easily provable by asking people what they saw on TikTok and what they believe from it. But movies, yes, they're always, especially like Hollywood, is dealing with ideals and romanticizing ideals, and then those ideals aren't necessarily just describing what people already have or believe or wish. They're also giving them to those people, or shaping them and forming them. So it's always an exchange like that between the viewers and the movies. The viewers expect to see some of what they already believe or feel on screen, but then the movies are refracting that back, I should say. And absolutely, you're being shaped by them. The question is that how much of that is false expectations. I just watched 26 James Bond movies 2 months ago, chronologically. I had not seen them all and to watch them all straight. And let me tell you, they create many, many, many false expectations if you were to believe anything in those movies regarding how men interact with women. Because Bond looks at a woman and seduces her in a second. I dare anybody to try that in the real world. So, how many people believe in the Bond thing? I do think, though, that you pick that up unconsciously, at least a tiny bit. I mean, part of your world somehow, unless you're really thinking through it critically. So, for sure. I mean, that's a simple answer for sure. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's amazing that you said that. Now, do you pick the Bond catalog because of why?
Just because I wanted to watch cultural history.
History.
It's like the I don't know if it's the #1 franchise ever in terms of money, but it's ran for 60 years and probably going to do another one here. So what in the world is this? And then what the world has this done to us, and what's it mean for the 20th century, from the Cold War through the War on Terror and beyond. And
Yeah.
that I was kind of interested in how it had developed and what it was up to in relation to other movies around its time period.
Yeah. I really appreciate talking with you because I feel comfortable going off on tangents with you. And
That's all I do is I'm Mr. Tangent in my classes. So there.
Are you really? No,
Oh,
that's
totally.
good. Because I think that is a reflection of human nature. And for me to do my script is one thing, and I can fall back on it. But I just want to say about comic books, James Bond and Clint Eastwood, I avoided those my whole life. And it's because I don't want Clint Eastwood shoving a gun in my face saying, make my day. Now, I understand he's a really good filmmaker, and to still be able to make films is amazing. When Altman was making his last film, they said, dude, you got to get someone, if you fall dead in the set, that will take over your film. And he goes, I got him, P.T. Anderson. He said he would do it, So that's another one. P.T. is just a fucking Altman clone, and he would admit it.
He knows that too.
I know.
If you told him that.
Huh?
He'd be so you said this way earlier, but
he would
be happy if you said that to him.
Yeah. And I smoked a joint with Altman once, and we had him on campus, and he was a hero filmmaker. But he's the closest thing to Finnegan's Wake, where you have 3 or 4 people talking on the soundtrack at once.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's very Wakian. But then I was like, I don't want James Bond in my life. I don't want this. But it doesn't mean I don't know a little about him, and I have seen a little Clint Eastwood. I don't think I've ever seen a Bond film, but I know about him because he's in our culture. So it doesn't matter if you fast and go, I don't, you say, I don't like that. That's personal bias is fine. McLuhan wasn't saying you have personal bias, you like or dislike, and how do you form those tastes? But the other thing Warhol said, which I think is really important, he says, we learn everything we do from the movies. So you learn how to kiss, you learn how to drive a car, you learn how to live. You learn everything by watching movies. Yeah.
You know this when you get and this is still a thing, I believe. It definitely has been through my life, where people have some event happen. Could be a tornado goes to the town.
Yeah.
Terrorist attack, something little extraordinary that's unusual, and they'll always say that was just like a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it's like the movies of the reality that they compare to actual reality, which that's how they measure up to reality, is like if they're like movies in the movie watching experience. Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating.
Josh, it's called one teacher taught me, it's called the android meme. So when we invent something, it creates hidden psychic effects. So when we made movies, it created these hidden psychic effects, and almost we're matching, when you use the word hallucinatory, matching the dream experience. So then we get up and say, what was your dream like last night? Oh, it was like a Fellini movie. So it's like, well, no, you can't describe the dream, but you're going to use those words. And then what happens, the android meme is the hidden psychic effects being imitated by the humans interact with each other, and the humans have disappeared. We're all disappeared. It's just the android memes talking to the android memes. So it's like, your thumbnail wording is talking to my thumbnail wording. Yeah. But it's not bad. And then the other thing, Warhol, I might have said this too, is when Reagan got in the White House, he went up to the staff and he goes, where's the war room? And they go, dude, there's no war room here. There's a Pentagon. There's no war room in the White House. And he says, well, I saw it in Dr. Strangelove. People
know that.
People,
that's real, right?
It's in the extras. It's in the extras, I think, on Dr. Strangelove or something. But what it is people think, oh, that's how stupid he was. No, because he knew Kubrick was a stickler for detail. For them to know there will be no fighting in the war room is so iconic line that Reagan was going along with it, and saying this is where we learn. And so I wanted to, because I did appreciate you even tackling Battle of Algiers,
Oh, right.
because it is, to me, a film that is a fake documentary. That's what it is. There's only one actor in Battle of Algiers. Everybody in the movie was in the situation. And Guillo created something that's so powerful. The Black Panthers used it as a training film, and George Bush used it as a training.
Yes.
And there's so many, Soderbergh or Oliver Stone, they're all on their knees to Guillo, like he made the ultimate film. And it's a hard film to watch. I've seen it a lot, but I rather watch people's opinions of it, because I loved how yours was like a little more mainstreamy, which was helpful, because all the ones I watch are a little more radical,
Pretty ideologically.
yeah. But that is another line that you used before we go into docs that I loved, is you said art is modifiable. So I think you were implying, like, what does that mean? I'm curious, because it's sort of going back to what we were talking about earlier, whether you create art out of your own self. Identity is the other thing we were supposed to talk about in this part. Or are you creating art from the environment you're in, the culture?
Oh, man. Well, that's a long-standing critical problem that right there.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between social analysis of literature and the psychoanalysis of literature, which quite often are at odds. Sometimes, at least, art is. I don't even know when I said that art is modifiable. Although you're right, because or can be easily be slightly to a lot miswatched. So I think if the FBI, I think it was the CIA, used Battle of Algiers. I can't remember which organization.
Right. Some government cronies of Bush used it as a training film.
Yeah, and that would be completely missing it, because there's no way the filmmakers intended that, the actors who are not actors intended that. I mean, who would want on that film set the CIA to get tips from them, right? So what they're doing is watching the way they want to watch through their perspective, and probably missing anything else about, missing any sign of a hint of imperialistic, any interpretation would be negative towards imperialism and using it for their purposes. But that's the modification that goes on always, all the time, which goes all the way back to the very beginning of this interview with Harold Bloom, which is that part of that anxiety of influence is that the influenced artist has misinterpreted the prior artist, trying to one up them, but they don't understand them that well. So in imitating and going beyond them, they actually misread them pretty badly. And that's part of his cultural analysis, I think, in anxiety of influence. They argue, the question I would have is, does any of us ever watch or interpret correctly at all, or are all viewings kind of slightly to a lot misinterpretations? And I don't know.
That's so well put. Let me react just for a second. That's what McLuhan did mid-career. He changed the medium as a message, the medium as a massage, to the user is the content. So that's why Joyce says in the middle of Finnegan's Wake, are my consumers not my producers? So if you're reading gobbledygook, or you're watching an experimental film, you can do whatever you want with it. You can't, the intention of the maker is not the dominant thing that you leave the movie theater with. But that we think, I mean, I'm going to get into that if we get into the docs. But I wanted to tell you, like, that's like Bigelow when she won her Oscar, first female director, whatever, she won her Oscar. she got up there and she should have said, well, first of all, I want to thank George Bush for giving me content to make a movie about. She wouldn't say that, but that is like, and I have a bias towards her because of that. I don't want that. And I have a bias towards Errol Morris humanizing McNamara in Fog of War. It's a great film. And I don't like humanizing a war criminal, but my wife's
about this.
My wife's dad made me rethink.
Yeah.
He said he's a Marxist Freudian. He worked with Cesar Chavez, the Black Panthers, and is a social worker. And he says, dude, humanizing anyone is a good thing.
Okay. Not everyone agrees with that,
No.
But yeah, the idea is like it could have been you or me being McNamara if it's been in that circumstance, right? I mean, but I know what you mean. I thought that was a brilliant documentary.
It is. Errol Morris is brilliant, and he's very manipulative. He knows how to make docs, that manipulate you, but it's hard, is he an agenda doc maker? Okay, then let's go into that now. Here it is. Because I wanted to go into identity and this other thing, but this is it. Okay, the difference between, it's pretty simple how the really great documentarians in America differentiate, well, not just America, but worldwide. Now I can't find my note, but it's either fly on the wall or fly in the soup.
Oh, yeah.
Fly, and one is cinema verite and one is direct cinema. So Frederick Wiseman is observational filmmaking. He is fly on the wall. Oppenheimer, did you see Oppenheimer's films? Or
wait, the Nolan film, or are you something else?
No. His last name, Joshua Oppenheimer.
Okay, yeah.
Sound of Silence, or whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. Where he has the Cambodian killers reenact
the act of killing, the art of killing. It's something like that.
It's called The Act of Killing.
Yes,
and it's actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's cinema verite is fly in the soup, where the maker is involved. That's Ziegler Vertov. He's involved. You see his wife editing the film. You see the cameraman, Jean Rouch, fly on the soup. Jean Rouch said, if I put a camera between me and you, it's more true than if there's no camera. Oppenheimer, when he put out that film, Act of Killing, both Herzog and Errol Morris said, dude, can we put our names on your film and say we produced it? You're so good. And, that's, and then, talk about that, because direct cinema is fly on the wall. The Maisel brothers, Salesman, Ricky Leacock, Frederick Wiseman, more observational.
Wait, are you asking what preference, or like the
difference? Well, no, not preference, but I mean just that phenomenon of that misreading. See, I think that phenomenon of misreading is good. Why should the human consume any piece of art and go, oh, I got it from the artist? No, I got it for myself.
Oh,
and
totally.
Then, you're getting you interpreted it wrong. I had a kid come up to me at a Zappa show once, and Frank goes, you start with a lump of grass. And he goes, he's talking about pot. And I goes, no, he's not. He's talking literally about a lump of grass. But it didn't matter. If the kid wanted to think that, he can hear me and change his opinion, but it doesn't matter. The consumer can do whatever they want.
Because there's slippage between the artist or the group of artists making the work and then the imbibing of it, whether it's watching it or reading it or whatever, and then it's just a different context altogether. Perhaps
who's different? Yeah,
that's going to happen.
Yeah, but the cultural critics like you will say, "Oh, this film, I'm going to give you a hint of what this film's about, and set it up," and then I'm not saying that's bad. We need that. I mean, I need that, you know.
Oh, well, they're good. At least a good work of art, but maybe any work of art, even if it's pretty terrible, is like more than me and the sum of my knowledge and experience. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's all different parts of the world combined into some new thing and new vision, and then different human beings come along, interact with it, and they have their own experience from it. I can't have that experience myself of
Yeah.
all the different people who experience it across time and space. So the best I can do is like try to see it from 5-10 different ways, but there's probably 80,000 different ways in some cases. So it's always going to, and the work of art is a living creature. It's at least when people interact with it. So then it's got new context every single
Yeah.
time it is used or quoted from or interacted with.
Yeah.
So I don't have an opinion on those two different kinds of documentary styles.
Yeah.
The one is more self-effacing and self-critical about the nature of the film and trying to mediate the material within video, the medium of video, and the others are just like, here's the best we can do at reproducing reality as it is, fly on the wall stuff. I kind of sort of prefer the postmodernist, self-effacing, self-critical thing, but either way, it's going to have the same kind of slippage problems in interpretation, and that's actually pretty delightful most of the time, except when the CIA is misusing it for their own nefarious purposes.
Right. And I mean, that's it. The history of cinema is the history of military as conflict resolution. They brainwashed us to believe that, you know, you have guns and all that. But, you know, it's these three major filmmakers sort of nailed it. Frederick Wiseman, I actually asked him all my questions in 5 minutes in a hallway at USC once, and he won't answer questions about documentaries or filmmaking.
Oh,
Frederick
sure.
Wiseman is really, I mean, he has done some pretty good interviews over the years, but he's like, why do you make films? He says Charlie Chaplin and Henry James, because you know I write books, and you know, so he calls his films reality fiction.
Yeah, that
Then
makes sense.
and then the Alan King is the Frederick Wiseman of Canada. He calls them actuality dramas. And then
okay.
And then Ricky Leacock calls his films historical fantasies.
That's close to creative nonfiction, the kind of writing that's like a memoir kind of thing, where you are acknowledging that you are changing quite a bit and interacting with it and putting your own current self into the material that is not, it's distorting it considerably. I mean, that's unavoidable.
Creative nonfiction.
Yeah, that's like literary nonfiction. I mean, that's a category of writing that some of my colleagues are involved with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sounds like what was the one historical fantasy?
The last one was historical fantasy.
What was the second one? I like that one.
Actuality dramas.
Actuality dramas.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes on and on, but I wanted to, because I said, well, in part 2, we'll tackle identity, and we're running out of time here. I hope we can do a part 3 like 6 months down the road so we can keep this going. And so the identity question that came up at the end of part 1 sort of fits in here. Is both McLuhan and Krishnamurti said violence is the human search for identity. Now, I'm curious your thought on that.
Whoa. Okay. So violence is the human search for identity. I mean, it didn't have to be, does it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. Here. I mean, well, this would give it away. So I'd watch this. I have this sitting here. I'm going to make a video about it. Have you seen this? Vittorio De Sica's Shoe Shine. It's an Italian neorealist movie from 1946. This ends with violence. It's violence you don't want to happen, but it is. Oh, you should watch this now. It's only 90 minutes. It's a statement of sort of a statement of identity.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give any more than that away. I can actually see how that could be. You could construe various acts of violence into some kind of identity statement, identity search. That does
Yeah.
seem to be a literary or fictional quality for many stories, by the way. Now that I'm thinking this through, Cain and Abel was Cain trying to make his own statement about who he was and his relationship to God by killing his brother? Probably. I don't know. I've not thought of this before.
Well, it's heavy, Josh, what you're saying, because I grew up going to Ann Arbor from 72 to 80. Boom, what amazing film period. We Altman, Woody Allen, Mel Brooks, but then all the heavies, Marty Scorsese, Peckinpah, Bonnie and Clyde, it was endless. And then all the Fellini and Bergman. I was running a film society and I saw all the best of film. I was like, after that, I was like, I never want to see a violent film in my life. I swore off of Scorsese. I was like, oh, I know he's good. I don't want to see any of that. I saw Raging Bull and it was enough. I don't want to see violent film. In fact, my line about Marty is he's a great filmmaker, but he's a front for the mob. He romanticizes the mob, and he does. But there's a film of his that you got to see, and I think it's free on YouTube. It's 45-minute documentary on how Cubism affected cinema and how cinema affected Cubism. So,
a Scorsese movie?
Yes, it's a Scorsese doc. It's 45 minutes. Yeah. It's just like, keep Googling it, how cinema was affected by Cubism and Cubism both ways. But see, is the human nature, is violence hardwired in humans is the big thing I tackle in my essay called Can Art Stop War?
Oh.
And it's basically this archaeologist named Maria Gambudis helped kind of prove in the anthropology world that humans are not hardwired for violence, they're hardwired for cooperation. And she spawned Rian Eisler's book called The Chalice and the Blade, which emphasizes partnership. So it's more partnership that we're hardwired for rather than violence. But in essence, I said, I can't watch violent films. So me and my wife, man, if there's a knife or a gun, we're like, okay, we're not watching anymore. And sometimes it squeaks by because 99% of films have something, a car, a woman, and a gun.
Yeah.
But we kind of stay away from violent films. And then I found this DVD set put out by like the Annenberg that was like the history of literature. And it was like all these highbrow literature people talking about the history of book, like you brought up Gilgamesh and all this. And all it was it's all about chopping people up. that the history of literature is the same thing. And I'm like, well, what the heck? So can we really ignore that and knock it out of our system and say, no, we're hardwired for cooperation. We went haywire learning conflict resolution through military or guns or clubs or whatever. Or are we more hardwired for, cooperation? And so, if you look at art and how art reflects humanity, it's always guns and it's like every movie.
I always say that Hollywood, I tell my class, I think Hollywood, there's a lot of conservatives in my class. Then I always tell them, I think Hollywood is the most pro-gun institution I've ever seen in my life, because just they like to show it, they like to promote it, tons of gun-based movies, as you're saying. But have you ever seen the movies of Bill Forsyth? Forsyth?
I know about him, but tell me, go ahead.
He did Gregory's Girl, but the one people know as Local Hero.
Yeah.
And he interpreted a Marilyn Robinson novel after that. I can't remember which one. So one interesting thing about his movies, they have no villain, and they are all cooperation. And so the struggle, the difficulty in those movies is to get really to go from less. I think this is correct for at least a couple of his movies, to go from less cooperation to more cooperation, which I
Wow.
found fascinating watching, because like nobody is. There's got to be one or two other filmmakers doing this that I'm not thinking of, but like his movies are really interesting to me for that reason. Go watch Local Hero,
Yeah.
which is early mid '80s movie, and it is about these disparate people kind of coming together over the small town that they might lose. But the Russian guy from Soviet Union shows up. I think there's an
Yeah.
African preacher who's there in the Scottish rural town. Anyway, that's I mean, he's an interesting counterpart or contrast to what you're calling the dominant. I think what you're saying is the dominant trend, which is still unfortunately true to some extent. But then how many people want to go watch that stuff? Because I think what people mostly want, whether they're trained or it's ingrained or both, the sensationalism, which clearly gunplay, violence, and the tension of possible violence is like, well, that's a big selling point for all dramas, isn't it? I mean, going all the way back, I don't know how to stop that. If you get a good idea, let me know. But
Well, it's funny, Josh, because is showing violent films alleviating the human to be violent, or is it causing them to
okay,
or causing them to do it? So just let me interject the Kubrick thing. Kubrick got strong-armed by the UK cops and authorities to pull Clockwork from UK screens only for 30 years.
was it that long? Wow.
Till he died. Then okay, so but kids could go buy Clockwork on the streets of London as a bootleg copy. So it wasn't okay, he banned it. He went along with authorities. Did he do that because it was a good PR stunt, or did he really believe his films were causing hoodlums to beat up winos?
Are you at, is this?
Yeah, that's the question. Is which way a little more? It's a stupid question, but you think Stanley Kubrick, in his mind, you're guessing his mind, was it a little more, well, I'll go along with it because it's PR, because I'm not banning it from the world, or is it, no, I believe they're going to come and get me, these hoodlums are going to get me. These kids who watch my movies are going to come and get me.
Because I'm choosing between his paranoia and his subversion.
Yeah.
Which I feel like it's both, isn't it? Like,
well, it's both. He could be here right now and he could answer it, but that doesn't mean it's the right answer. We don't know that deeper, because I had James Harris sitting in this chair. He produced 8 films with Stanley. When I asked him that, he said, oh, Stanley was 2 things: family, film. That's all he wanted. He thought they were going to come and get his family. Like, no way. These kids are going to watch.
Oh, you watch his films and you get like, he's paranoid about the 20th century bureaucracy coming after us.
But I don't think he thought his film was causing kids to beat up winos. That's what they were saying. Your film is causing that. You can't prove that because you don't know if it alleviates people of it or causes them to do that or something in between. We don't know. That's called causality. You know that. That's for Aristotle, causality. That's McLuhan's biggest thing. You can't prove causality. You can theorize it. You can say, this caused that, but it's really difficult, because it's, to our last question, we'll close out with this one, is the 2 film heroes I have. George Manupelli started the Ann Arbor Film Festival 6 decades ago. His mantra was ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas said there is no self-expression, and the great jazz pianist Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. So I sort of already asked this, but I'm curious. Is art making, filmmaking, music making, poetry, literature more self-expression, or more you're a vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
It's definitely the latter in every case, but the former self-expression, it strikes me that it depends on the medium. I think film is really hard to be self-expressive in, at least in one film or two films. It's a collaborative effort almost all the time, and the
Yeah.
accidents happen during the film process. We do know, I do believe in the auteur theory to some extent, because you just look at Bergman and you look at all the Bergman movies, and they have all these patterns and issues that are the thematic issues that are the
Yeah.
same. So it does seem to me like over time, over a number of works, a filmmaker can. It does strike me that poetry, for sure, written poetry, some literature, there's a lot of, I would guess, at least from the production standpoint, self-expression, intentional self-expression. You don't have to take it that way. I think, just think like a video game. I don't even know how you would do self-expression in that. And also like a big collaborative artwork type of project, that's much harder to me, I would think. So is there such a thing as social expression that's accidental, where the movie makers come together and out of the group of them, here comes an expression that's sort of the melding of them somehow? I don't know.
Yeah. It's heavy. It's heavy because I've given the example in the music world. Clyde, James Brown's main drummer, you're the architect of funk drumming. Where'd you get it from? He says, there's a train track on one side of my house in Ohio and a factory on the other. So it's like, you know, he got his sound from the sound that he was raised in. Ginger Baker, the drummer for Cream, where'd you get your sound? I was in London when they were bombing. Boom, 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 boom. You know,
really? He said that? That's amazing.
yeah. And in Missy Elliott, a rap star, said, "Where'd you learn how to sing?" And she goes, "From car alarms." Now that sounds funny, but I mean, most people in the black world say, "Yeah, I got it from the church." She got it from car alarms. So, you know, how much does that affect us? You know, I mean, Koyaanisqatsi. Have you ever seen that film?
Oh yeah.
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 So that's like, well, where did, you know, Gila, I've been trying to interview that guy for years. You know,
Oh,
he's an amazing filmmaker in a way, because you know what he did? He went to Canyon Cinema in San Francisco, which rents experimental films. And he looked at all their films and he studied Hillary Harris. Hillary Harris did that exact same pixelated technique. And he goes, "Oh, that's good." And he just used it. No one knew it. And then I think George Lucas, I mean, some people knew it, but George Lucas, whoever, said, "Oh, we'll produce this for you." And it was like a major kind of experimental film that's got snuck in the popcorn theaters, you know,
okay.
with the Philip Glass soundtrack. So we're all experimental film nuts. We go and see that and we go, "We've seen this for years. How do you get in the popcorn theater?" You know, and so it's amazing what he did. But was that just a reflection of everything that's going on in the world sped up? You know, the world's out of balance and it's sped up. The real counter question to this, is it more self-expression or more? Of course it's both, and it varies. So that was great what you said, Josh. It helped me, because you're saying, hey, maybe poetry is more self-expression and maybe film is more collaborative, so it's more vehicle. And even Dante says he prayed to the muses, the vehicle, to help him. You know, help me write my book. I want to change the world forever. But the hidden question is, can art making be egoless?
Oh, well, accidentally. Yeah, but I mean, if somehow something gets released and the person is dead, and or no one knows who wrote it or produced it, I can't think of good examples offhand, because it seems like most artwork is for the, obviously some commodification is involved in this, money making and branding and image creation of the person who made all that. It's all wrapped up with it. I don't know though. It doesn't sound, it would be pretty hard to do. I mean, Dante is probably the most egocentric person he's a Catholic, faithful Catholic, self-sacrificing, or that's one of the virtues for him. But he does say he's one of the 6 great poets in the history of the world while he's writing the comedy. So,
Wait, he said that when he was writing it?
well, yeah, it's in the comedy. I mean,
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Inferno. If you read the first 5 cantos of Inferno, he's hobnobbing with who is it? Ovid and Lucan and
Yeah.
Homer and Virgil, and he's one of the bros there with them and
Yeah.
saying he's one of the 6 great poets.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. I'm
So
going to
it's
tell
hard
my
to
dad.
be egoless, yes. But the thing is, he turned out to be right, at least in terms of his
Yeah.
influence of his book. So
Well, let me tell you what I've gotten there. Just inventory. Most people go, no, you can't. Art can't be egoless. Then about a year ago, a woman said, great art is egoless. And I was like, wow, well, you hit that universality of your message. I mean, you and me probably could kind of agree maybe the best book into film is maybe To Kill a Mockingbird, or it's up there. You know,
book
good
and
book,
movie.
good film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and so how much is the ego involved there? She probably just wrote the book, and she was like, the commodification question. You're right. How do you erase that? Like Zappa says, I'm just writing this music for myself. If other people like it, great. I goes, dude, I mean, I say that to myself. You're over romanticizing, because that if you hit these notes and say these words, kids will buy your music. Then you can make more music. But you can't erase that completely, because you got kids to raise and you got a job, or how you're gonna make your money and pay your rent and all that. So I like that he says that, because his music seems like it's not catering to commodification, but he did say, I think all my songs are hits. So he knows that it's a
Yeah.
business. And he said another thing, you'll love this. He said, I'm a devout capitalist.
That I believe.
Yeah, he lived it. But then when I asked this other woman, I says, can art making be egoless? She says, it has to be egoless. So that was a funny thing. Now, Josh, just to close out, I'm curious your thoughts on this. The problem with that question is the baggage that the word ego carries, because it's hard to differentiate what I'm really saying there. People, they think I'm meaning egotistical. Some people might turn. And then the follow-up question I asked this big hotshot movie director at USC once, and he made this film. I can't even remember the title of the film or him, but it was so funny. And I says, can art making be egoless? And he goes, that's beyond my pay grade. And then it's beyond my wheelhouse, or whatever he says. And it's like, come on. And then he re-referenced the question later in the discussion, because the follow-up is, was Freud right? Because I mean, how do you take what is the word ego just in general when I say, can art making be egoless?
I think it's just simply the self. So, I mean, just to be real basic, I have myself, my own points of view, desires that I understand and know about. At least there's other stuff that I don't know about also there. Who am I? What am I? And I want to be known and maybe admired. That's vanity, but at least known. I want someone to kind of understand me to some extent. I feel like that is at least some impetus for making stuff, to have other people acknowledge you, just even acknowledge your existence, which sometimes is a battle in the modern world. Is very hard to do. That's what I'm thinking of when you say that.
Yeah, I think you took it in the way most people take it. Can art making be egoless? Because people generally don't make art in their bedroom and never want anyone to see it, and never think it. Like, it's like a kind of a flip on McLuhan's line, the Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can. So it's like they don't go, well, I'm going to go make art now. Now I'm going to go fix food. Now I'm going to go walk down
Yeah.
the street. You know, they just do everything as well as they can. But you know, this artist in Chicago, and there's a woman who did it with photography. Do you know Henry Darger?
Nope.
Darger. Dude, you got to look him up. Anyways, you probably knew him a little. Henry Darger was a kind of mental case janitor in Chicago. And for like decades, he painted in his room every night. And he made the biggest book in the history of the world. And he painted watercolors, and they're beautiful. He basically invented pop art. He was pasting pictures of Joe Namath on his paintings, and no one saw his art. He went and did his janitor work, came home, and he lived in an apartment. I says, how did they not see him bring his art supplies? Like, he just carried a few paint brushes and stuff. And so when he's died, they went into his apartment, and it basically, his art has become a huge industry. It's called outsider art. You know,
Okay,
yeah. So you can watch the documentary on Henry Darger. It's very good. There's probably a million tutorials. But at the end of his life, he's in a hospice or a hospital, and one of the people who live in his building go into his apartment and see all this art. And they go up to Henry on the deathbed and says, Henry, why didn't you tell us? And he goes, it's too late now. Now, we don't know. I asked the producer of the film, what did that mean? She goes, I don't know. I says, come on. It's like, it's too late. I wanted that all destroyed. I didn't want people to see this.
Oh.
Or was he's like, it's too late now because you people are going to make millions off my art and I ain't going to get any of it. Now, he's probably not saying that, but we don't know, because his paintings are like this, Josh. You know, go on Google Images and watch. It's really well-controlled watercolor, and it's little girls frolicking over a hillside with flowers and clouds. And then sometimes they have penises and they're chopped off and blood squirting everywhere.
Delightful.
No, I mean, it is like, and there's been operas and like, you know, you could, once they started exhibiting this in art museums, people would go, oh, this is amazing. And they go, you know, but it's not just that. But, you know, the guy definitely had some mental issues. but as an artist, was his art egoless? So, you know, the other one you might know is Myers, the photographer in Chicago. I think Henry and her met. And she was just a nanny in Chicago, and she shot photos all the time. And she's considered one of the greatest street photographers in American history.
I know who this is, yeah.
Yeah, you probably saw it because that doc got pretty good coverage. And so she just threw all her film in a box. She died, and then this guy bought the film and started developing it. And he was like, dude, I hit pay dirt. This could pay for my rent for the rest of my life, you know, selling prints and whatnot. But that again is, can art be egoless? Isn't that maybe, even though Dante's saying that, he hit a nerve that his art can last forever and have a message, and universally people can relate to it.
Somehow he knew that, or he's creating that possibility, or both. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Anyways, it's really been a pleasure, Josh. I really appreciate your time and energy.
Oh, yeah.
And what you do is you really make me think. It's called, what McLuhan said, is suspended judgment. If you don't, you know, you have your opinions. You can say, I like this film, or I picked this film to review, but you're presenting this thing where it's both ends of the spectrum. Here's some of the services, here's some of the disservices. You decide. I mean, it's an important thing.
Oh, yeah, well, yes. It's tricky on YouTube for sure. I'm going to give you one thing. Can you here?
Please.
You said, I'm back right here. You said you hadn't read comic books. Is that right?
Not much. Yeah.
So this is the book you need to read.
Oh, I know that guy. I've been trying to interview him for years.
Have you read this before or not? I give this
I've
out.
looked at it. I've dumpster dove it, but I know. What's his first name?
Scott McCloud.
Oh, Scott McCloud. I met him at a McLuhan conference.
Oh,
And he basically got the title from Understanding Media, but he is brilliant. His lecture was really good. Scott is really good.
That book leads to infinite possibilities for the medium and would break it out of whatever juvenile superhero thing. I mean, it's not that anymore, but anybody who reads that, I actually understand film a little bit from that book. So
Scott is brilliant, and
it's
what
not
it's
just about graphic novels.
Graphic novels too are brilliant, but it's just what I consume. What you caused me to do now is I'm going to email Scott again and say, "Come on, dude, let's do a podcast." Because I know I met him. I says I want to invite you, and he said sure. And then I invited him, and I didn't follow through. Sometimes it's hard. You got to follow through. And I'm like, if you say yes, and I send you the invite, and you don't respond with the dates, I'm not going to bug you unless you're like in my top 5, like Woody Allen, Iggy Pop, Rebecca Solnit. There's some that are I would keep bugging, but I'm not going to, because they're already interviewed too much. And most people, like, the interviews are like, that's work, and it's like, if you can have fun with it, that's where my my motive is more to have fun.
Oh, I had a good time here again, so thank you.
Well, thanks, Josh. And again, even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends. We can talk forever and ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you around.
Okay.